Did you know that the human eye can only process a small, tiny sliver of all the light that is around us at all times? A tiny little sliver of the light spectrum is visible to us. And even out of that, parts of our eyes actually don't take in any information. So we're seeing only a percentage of what is even around us. And the rest of it is being filled in by our brains. Pretty cool, huh? All this to say that there is a lot that is literally all around us that we can't even see, that we can't know. Maybe there's some tools we can use, like infrared glasses or night vision glasses, but even with those, there's still only so much information we can get. And there's a lot that's unknown. I find that to be beautiful, liberating actually. And I think it can stimulate our curiosity, humility, a sense of wonder. So today, let's explore the unknown through my oracle deck. Welcome back to Sweet Infinity. My name is Kieran, and this is the Wild Unknown Archetypes Guidebook for the Wild Unknowns Archetype Oracle deck by Kim Krantz. I'll be leaving a link to where you can purchase this if you would like to get your own copy. It's a really neat oracle deck, interesting artwork, watercolors, collage, very unique. If you're new here, please remember to subscribe to this channel and hit the little thumbs up icon because that tells other people that they might want to check out this video. Ooh, the medallion jumped out, so let's keep that out here. And we will incorporate that into our reading. And if you're interested in one-on-one readings, I'm also taking appointments for those. This reading will be about learning about what this card means, the medallion that came up. We will read the description of this card and then pick more cards that explain what is it that the cards are telling us. I'll read from the book first. The medallion, the amulet, the talisman, the heirloom. The passing on of sacred objects is an ancient ritual within families, between lovers, and in tribes across the globe. We gift jewels, treasures, keepsakes, and mementos of all kinds, some of great material value, others that hold emotional resonance, and still others with both. Yet when these gifts are bestowed upon us, it's important to recognize that they may bind us to an unspoken agreement or promise. When the medallion card appears, be aware of how the objects you hold dear may be embedded with unconscious energy or expectations. Materials hold consciousness, and it's time to reconcile the vibration of the objects around you. What do you covet and collect? Why? Is there an object you have held on to for years that you are ready to release? Perhaps it is time to reach for the medallion that aligns with your deepest values. Interesting. This reading is about the things that we value, or the things that we collect, or the things that we hoard. And what do they mean? And why do we do it? Or the things that we want, that we covet. How material objects can mean so many other things, non-material things like spiritual things, the voids that are left in us from trauma, the unspoken or suppressed needs that we are unaware of, that we try to fill with material objects. There's so much there. And memories, of course, nostalgia. What are the objects that are all around you? Are you a minimalist? Are you a maximalist? Are you someone who likes to collect a particular type of object? For example, in my case, I love art supplies and crafting supplies. I have quite a collection now, and sometimes I wonder if it's too many art supplies, too many craft supplies. And some of it has to do with what you maybe are missing in your psyche. So for example, growing up, I personally did not have access to all the art supplies and craft supplies that I wanted to experiment with. I think that that caused me to want to have as many of them as I could gather, as many of them I could find on various sales and thrift stores and whatnot. And yet they have taken on a life of their own because objects are imbued with consciousness. So, what is that life, that objects that you might be sitting on or collecting, or maybe it's not a huge collection, maybe it's just one or two objects that are specific, that kind of call you, that speak to you. Maybe it's something somebody left behind, a grandparent, an ex, or someone else. It's okay to imbue those objects with memory, with importance. You are allowed to do that. The judge. Interesting. The judge has an incredibly important job. They work every waking hour of every day, helping us discern what is safe, true, and just. When this archetype remains unconscious or is captivated by fear, wise discernment turns into painful judgment of self and other. Ironically, the judge's energy can be the seed of racism, bigotry, and fear-mongering. This is the judge out of balance, building walls separating from the other. When this same discerning force is made conscious and healed, however, the judge may be found advocating for civil rights causes, standing up for the underdog, providing resources for those in need, and forgiving again and again. Love is the deciding factor. Awakening this archetype is essential for the complex times that we are in. Get your judge in order. The world needs it. The judge is a card that, similar to the judgment card in tarot, can sometimes hold a negative connotation, being judged, being subject to an authority figure. That can be disturbing. And yet, when this shows up with the medallion, what I find interesting is that there is an object or several objects in your life that you are holding on to, and that you feel a sense of judgment coming from them. Maybe these are objects that signify a certain person or people in your life who were very judgmental towards you. But you're holding on to these objects as memories, as keepsakes, and on some level they're weighing you down. On some level they might be holding you back in some way. Not the objects, but the way that you see them, the way that you feel that they're emanating a kind of judgment. And as the book says, judgment in the dark, in the negative, can be very difficult, can be very bigoted or authoritarian. And judgment, when it's healed, can be very beautiful, very protective, very just. That's the whole point of justice. The word judge and the word justice are connected. In the times that we're living in, I think a lot of people are feeling this way, where they're kind of holding on or hoarding a lot of stuff that they feel might not be safe, might be taken away from them, what little bit they have, and they might be feeling very judged for that. See, the thing about bigotry or racism and things like that is that not only are people who may be called racist judging others, they are also aware that they're being judged. And so it goes in both directions. It's the judge that's unhealed. So they're judging others and they're being judged by others. And there's this constant tension. So the healing process has to come for this discernment, the inner discernment sort of compass that we all have. And in that healing, you will find that it will be an end to that kind of bigotry, hatred for another, or kind of projection of one's own fear onto another. And as a result, it will also end the judgment that you are feeling, that you are getting judged unfairly. A lot of people who may be called racist or bigoted in some way, they may hold certain beliefs, but they also believe that they are being judged unfairly. And that's something that's hard to understand both sides feel judged, and both sides are doing the judging. And like the book says, the key is love. The way to heal the judge is through love. The way to heal that inner discernment process is through love. Maybe you are somebody who has held beliefs that are very against certain groups of people, or maybe you are somebody who has been on the receiving end of that kind of attitude. Either way, you have felt judged. You have felt out of place. You have felt looked at in a way that's very invasive. You have felt that you were singled out. So let's pick another card and see what it says. All of this tension that's happening with judging, and we know that we need love in order to heal it, but it's not always easy to bring about, because love is a two-way street in this kind of scenario. How do you love somebody that you think of as the other? Or how do you love somebody that you feel has been unfair towards you, whether by judging your skin color or whatever, or by assuming that you are holding certain beliefs? Whatever it is, you feel judged. How do you bring love into that? That sounds like a very difficult thing to just randomly bring love into something. Maybe you turn to religion. Maybe there are different ways that there are ways to connect people. And I think it's a good idea. If you are witness to a scenario like this where somebody's being judgmental, another person's being judgmental towards them, and it goes back and forth, maybe you can find a way to introduce love into that relationship. And I don't mean like cheesy love or whatever, but like something that brings love into that relationship, that shows those two people or those groups of people the similarities between them, the humanization between them. Love is often conveyed through affection, yes, but also through humor, through music, shared communal music, communal singing, things like that, where people come together and share something that bonds them. That bonding process is love. And it can't be forced. But a wise person could bring that into the relationship by humanizing each other, by introducing humor and comedy, storytelling, music, things like that. Things that bypass our judgmental side and heal it as a process. So, is that your role? Is that one of your roles? Let's think about it and pick another card. The mentor. Let's read about the mentor. The teacher, the sage, the guru. It is said that cosmic knowledge pours down on the world like a great illuminated waterfall. This can be an overwhelming force. The true teacher, though, is said to be able to hold this flow of wisdom at bay while the student sips from a focused stream. The mentor archetype has a gift for reading the room, for sensing the exact ingredient that will stimulate growth within the student, whether pleasant or painful. The mentor may appear aloof or available, harsh or tender, humorous or rigid. Their gift is to know what serves the soul. Ultimately, the mentor is in service of the greater cosmic good and aids in the elevation of consciousness. Anytime the mentor forgets this humble link and mistakes themselves for the source of enlightenment, the archetype falls into shadow. That is fascinating. So the mentor is a bridge from the version that you were before to the version that you will be. That's all they are. That's their role. That's the teacher. Maybe you are the mentor. The mentor is the bridge between the past and the future. The less wise person and the more wise person, it's the same person. They are a bridge in time. They are not a bridge in space. So the mentor's job is to know how to help their student or the people that they are mentoring get across that bridge. They are the bridge and they are the guide on the bridge. And this is a very important role because the mentor appears in different forms. The mentor is also a very powerful archetype, shows up in almost every story and movie that you can think of, every kind of fiction. The mentor is pretty much guaranteed. I don't know if you can tell a story without a mentor. So, in light of that and the other cards that we have, the medallion, stuff that you're holding on to, stuff that means something to you, the judge, where we learn to become discerning and we heal our inner sense of justice and our inner sense of reconciliation. And then we have the mentor, the teacher. What I'm seeing in this is that you are on a path where you are learning that you have the physical resources, the medallion, the objects, the raw materials that you can use to help heal some of the greatest social issues of our times, and do it in a way that actually helps people become better versions of themselves. Because the mentor is wise. The mentor is not always nice. Sometimes they're harsh. The mentor is not always serious. They can also be funny. The mentor is not always elitist, sitting in a ivory tower. No, they can be public intellectuals. They can be people that you meet in corner stores. The mentor shows up again and again and again because all of us, we need a lot of mentors, and we are also mentors towards others as we get older and go through life. Sometimes we are mentors without even realizing that we are. And so the judge, this card is just so amazing because this card really represents, I think, so much of what's going on these days, where everybody's being judged and everybody feels judged and everybody is judging others, but nobody wants to think of themselves as being part of that. A lot of people feel only one side of it. They only feel that they are being judged, but they don't necessarily realize that it's a vicious cycle we are part of at this point, with a lot of online activity, offline activity, a lot of stuff that's going on in the world that's very difficult, and sometimes it's even difficult to figure out what it is. There's so much misinformation, artificial stuff that's going on. It's hard to tell. How do we discern? And then so a lot of times our ability to discern just shuts down, just closes off. I don't want to discern anything. I don't want to judge anything. I don't care. And this idea that discernment itself kind of short circuits. And then we end up turning it against ourselves. Maybe we are very self-critical to the point of paralysis, and or we turn it towards others. And that's when it shows up as bigotry of some kind or another, paranoia of some kind or another, prejudice. And then the mentor shows up, and the mentor is supposed to help you get to a better version of yourself and to forgive yourself for not having been there already. That's a big part of it. See, you can't be a mentor if you are not willing to let people cross that bridge and get to the other side where they're a different person, a different version of themselves. And they can look back across that bridge and see the old version, remember the old version of them. So if you can allow them to make that journey in a way that encourages them, shows them that it's possible to make that journey, others have made that journey, there is a world on the other side of that bridge, a better world even, you can help them heal that judgmental side of them so that they become advocates of justice and not prejudice, which is also connected to the idea of judgment. Mentors are needed. And even if you are somebody who's been in that position where you are very harsh in your judgment, maybe towards others or towards yourself or both, you can change, you can evolve, you can learn and become a mentor for those who are still there. In fact, that is the best kind of mentor. I really love this deck. There's so much rich material that I always come up with when I read this deck. It really stimulates your intuition. I highly recommend it to anyone that is interested in readings. I'll pick up one more card, and this will be about a final note on this journey, on this quest that we've been on. What is it that we need to remember as we step into a role of mentorship? And remember that we are also judges. We are also seeking justice, and we have also been judged wrongly at times. We have all been misunderstood at times. We have all made mistakes, and it's okay. And we are all mentors as well. You are a mentor. You might not see yourself that way, but somebody does, or somebody could. And it's beautiful. Human existence is this constant back and forth, learning, teaching, learning, teaching, learning, teaching. It's inevitable. So what's that final card we're going to get for today? The Poet. Ooh. That's nice. Let's read about it. The poet's work is to feel immensely and not be afraid. They must seek out truth in the darkest corners of the world and carry it back for all to see. This unique capacity resides within us all, regardless of our relationship to creativity. When the poet energy is present, there is a call for deep honesty and reflection, for seeing the big picture within the little one. The poet rides effortlessly between the personal and universal. It's possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. The words of the poet ring true for centuries to come, soothing the wounds of despair and violence that captivate our world. The poet's work is never finished. Find your voice and trust that the wind will carry it. The artist, the witness, the truth teller, the poet. I think there's a poet in each of us. I think there's an artist in each of us. I write poetry. I have written poetry. I love reading people's poetry. This is such a great card to end this reading with, because after all is said and done, the poet's work is never done. There's poetry that you can read today that was written hundreds, even thousands of years ago, in other places, in other languages, by people who lived and breathed on this planet, who breathed this air, who were born, who had families, who woke up, who had favorite dishes, who had bad days, who had bad hair days and good hair days, who had hopes, who fell in love maybe, who had friends, who went through whole lives like every single human being on earth does, and who eventually got sick and died. And their poems can be read right now. And if you read some of them, they're going to be some of the most profound things ever. And people who've written poetry 10 years ago and are who writing it now. Poetry is something that humanity has always done, like art, like painting. And I feel like this reading has really been about getting in touch with the bigger picture, that you are part of humanity. As part of humanity, you are connected to objects as well. But the objects are there because if you notice, the object is pointing toward all the other cards too, right? It's the first card that we picked up. Then we have the judge, who kind of has another hand here who's reaching out, and these hands are connected in that way. The judge card is about learning to draw boundaries, but also to open up boundaries when needed, and to be available for righteousness, for justice, for fairness towards yourself and towards others. Treat others as you would like to be treated. There's so many versions of the golden rule in every culture, in every religion. And that's really the ultimate way to bring love into any kind of relationship, even if it's difficult. If you have the blessing of healing somebody's relationship or healing somebody's inner unhealed judge who shows up as racism, bigotry, things like that. If you have a chance to do that, consider yourself lucky. Consider yourself blessed that you are able to heal such a deep wound for not just that person, but for humanity. Then you step into the mentor role. You realize that each of us has a responsibility to be a mentor. Maybe you're a professional teacher, maybe you're not. But being a mentor is everyone's responsibility and a privilege. Maybe to pass on knowledge and wisdom to somebody who's younger, but also to somebody who's your age or older even. I learn from people who are younger than me. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Anyone can be anyone's mentor. And then getting in touch with that part of you that is timeless, that is eternal, getting in touch with other people's poetry. Highly recommend writing poetry if you can, but even if you can or you cannot, whether you do write poetry or you don't, highly recommend reading poetry. Go look up some poetry. Look up poetry on whatever subject. Or if you have a particular poet that you like, look up their work, other work that you might not have read, and look up others who are like them or others who are not like them. I like William Blake's poetry. I like Omar Khayyam's poetry. I love so much poetry. I love a lot of poetry that's written in Urdu, which is the language of Pakistan, where I'm from originally. There's some amazing traditions of poetry in Urdu, and I grew up listening to that and even writing some. So, yeah, be a poet, read poetry. Everyone is a poet. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you go out there and explore your inner mentor and your inner poet, and that you're able to bring healing and love to others as well. If you want, you can purchase this deck from the links listed below. If you're interested in one-on-one readings, let me know. And if you would like to support me, I do have a Patreon link in the description. I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a comment. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a sweet infinity.